My name's Chelsea Gilmore. I'm on the FoGALA board as the VP of Communications, and I have a ninth grader here at Gala, and it is my distinct pleasure to do a fireside chat with Justina today. You can see we set the stage here. This is all Justina's collection from Target, and my daughter will recognize some of this because our house is dotted with her incredible, incredible work. So this is a real pleasure for us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Justina.
There's such good energy in here. It's so lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
You bet. So the theme of YWCC this year is connections. And what do we mean by that? Well, we mean connections to amazing network of women. The women that you're going to meet today, they're going to become your network. That's connections. Connections to potential careers that you haven't thought about in the future. That's a connection. And then connection to your potential, like Dr. Hicks said. So there's a lot of connection today. But I want to talk to Justina about the connection between design and joy, which is something you talk about because you are a very joyful designer. And I would love to hear your philosophy around that.
Yeah, thank you so much. So I believe we can design the world that we want to live in. And I think that for me, that's living in a world full of color, full of vibrancy, full of sustainability, creating a place that we all really want to live in. And I think that starts within ourselves, within the home inside of us. And that extends to our family. And that extends to our actual homes, right, our community, and the whole world.
Yeah, I love that. So Justina's, your work is incredibly joyful. And, you know, we sort of talked about a few of your distinctions. You're also an incredible artist. You're an entrepreneur, and we're going to get into all of that today. But I'd love to talk about how you got started. You now run a brand called Jungalow, and like Angie said, you have a lot of collaborations with huge brands. And I think something that really sticks out for me as someone so attracted to your work is the sense of authenticity and joy. So how did you get started?
So I always was creative. I was a theater kid. I was in choir. I loved to draw, paint, do ceramics. I loved all of it. I never knew exactly where it would lead me, but I had this sense that if I could just be creative and follow that creativity, that curiosity, that passion, that it would lead me somewhere fun. And I always thought about the fun, the joy. It's so important. You want to love what you do. So we only have 18 minutes, right? So I'm gonna fast forward. I went to UCLA. After UCLA, I moved to Europe. I moved to Italy. And I ended up living there for 7 years and studied design there and ended up opening up a boutique there. And that's really where I just started to really dig into creative entrepreneurship. Never made any money there, but that wasn't the point, right? Money's important, but at the same time, having these experiences and being able to bank them for later is also really, really important. So when I got back to the United States, I decided to start a blog. This was the time where blogs were just starting to emerge. And I started a blog and started writing about all the creative projects I was working on. And at the time, for money, I was working as a creative Jill of all trades. Someone could hire me to do anything creative. I was designing websites. I was styling for magazines. I was writing for magazines. I was working with a lot of up-and-coming female entrepreneurs on their branding, on their marketing, all that kind of stuff, whatever anyone would hire me for. And on the side, I was doing my blog. And little by little, like 5-6 years into writing my blog every day, that was my commitment. I'm going to blog about something creative every single day. My blog started to gain popularity. It was really exciting. I started to have brands reach out wanting to do brand collaborations, and I started to build my own audience. Now, my style has always been more out there than what was popular in a lot of the big stores. And what I learned was that because my style was different, because I was different, I stood out. And that made brands attracted to me. And so actually something that at first seemed like wasn't going to help me because people were like, oh, that's too out there, it's not commercial enough, ended up being my secret superpower.
That is so, it's true, it's so true. And I know you single-handedly introduced the house plant. You brought the house plant back into fashion, so raise your hand if you have plants all over your house. You have Justina to thank. And I'm intrigued, so you were living a creative life, but you really leveraged technology to get your brand out there. And how has that sort of changed through the years as your business has grown?
Technology's always been something that I've enjoyed, and I think that that's so important. When I first started blogging, for example, it was very difficult. I had to learn HTML, and it wasn't plug and play like it is now. And instead of being afraid of it, I got curious. And so I dug in and sometimes spent, all night long, figuring out HTML. And that was a real asset, right? Being able to do the creative stuff and that side of things, and then also to be able to kind of go in the back end and understand the user interfaces. And not being afraid of technology also helped when I first really started to build my social media channels, because ultimately I built my own audience, and that's how I was able to convince a lot of these bigger brands that my style could be popular and that people could be interested in it. And when I first started on Instagram, for example, there were very few designers who were on Instagram at the time because they didn't want to reveal their sources. They didn't want to share where they were getting things. They felt like those were their trade secrets. And for me, I've always valued sharing. I always think about all ships rise with the tide, right? We can all come up together. And so for me, sharing was always exciting and fun and valuable. And so I started my Instagram channel and I shared resources. Oh, where did you get that wallpaper? I got it here. Oh, here's how I like to shop the flea markets. All of that stuff, sharing things very openly, really started to grow my brand and my audience.
That's inspiring. It's so nice. So you heard we are a STEM school, and I know you've been building your brand. You're working with some of the biggest brands in the world. You want to talk a little bit about how it's surprised you how you actually have to call on some other things that you wouldn't necessarily think of as a creative that are pretty STEMisty. So let's hear about just what it means now that you have a big brand and companies are coming to you. What are some surprises about running a business at this level?
There are always surprises, and I think figuring out how to find the joy in the surprises and be curious about the surprises is so important. One of the things, for example, when we started our collaboration with Target, it really hit me how many things we were going to be making, right? It was like before Target, we maybe were making 1,000 of something. And now with Target, all of a sudden, we're making 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. And that really got me thinking about sustainability, right? It's one thing if you're making 1,000 of something, but when you're making 50,000 of something, that scale can have real impact, and it can have negative impact, and it can have positive impact. And so it really got me thinking about how we can do better, from a sustainability standpoint. And so that required a lot of working together with the Target manufacturing team to work with their value engineering team, which is a huge part of what it means to work at Target, because they have price points that they're trying to meet to make their stuff affordable for a mass audience. And then we have our sustainability goals, and how do we marry those two things? So there's always a lot that's involved from that aspect. There's a lot of math, there's a lot of science, and there's a lot of technology, even though if you would have asked me when I was younger, I would have been afraid to know that my life would have been full of math, science, and technology. But I've really learned to embrace it and get curious about it, and just to ask a lot of questions to see where we can go.
That's amazing. And have you found Target open to that conversation about sustainability for You're
really pleasantly surprised that throughout the whole process of working with Target, and we're in year 4 right now of working with Target, they have been extremely open to, and I've learned so much, right? And that's so important too, because, for example, I might not know that certain metal finishes might be toxic to the people who are making them, right? And that might be more affordable for the end consumer, but how can we find something that is less toxic for the folks that are making it, and maybe also the same price? Maybe it's a different gold finish. So those are ways of thinking about things that I've learned, and that then I can take those seeds and plant them into my own business as well.
Right, things you don't even think about. And what has it been like? STEM fields are still really underrepresented by women, and also women of color. So when you go into these rooms with huge corporations, how do you advocate for yourself? What does that experience? What have you learned that you can share with our students?
Yeah, I've been in a lot of rooms where I was the only person who looked anything like me, and I'm not just talking about my hair. But I think one of the things, and I touched on this a little bit earlier, but one of the things that I've really learned over the years is that what makes me different can be my superpower. And so when I am in rooms where maybe I am the only person who identifies as a woman, maybe I am the only person of color in the room, these things can really help. For example, maybe I can reach markets that they can't reach without me, right? Maybe I know how to speak to an audience that they don't know how to speak to. So I've realized that my voice has value. My voice is really important. And so to harness that and to go in with that energy and that attitude and that spirit of, I value myself, and I know that I'm bringing something super special and super different to the table because I am who I am and no one else is.
Yes. I love that. The key word is superpower, right? It's the superpower. So I'm just going to keep an eye on time. Okay, we have about 5 more minutes. You have traveled a lot. You traveled a lot as a child, and then you lived in Italy. We also live in such an international city, and our school is incredibly international and diverse, and that's, it's secret sauce and its superpower. What inspires you about Los Angeles?
I love Los Angeles so much. Actually, for my senior project at UCLA, I did an exploration of Los Angeles and treated it like I was in a foreign place and went somewhere new every day at all hours of the day to explore this incredible city that we have here. It's almost like countries, right? You can visit so many different types of cultural enclaves here. You can hear so many different languages, try so many different types of food, visit so many different types of museums. There is so much here. There are so many resources here. Los Angeles is such fertile ground for manifestation. You can plant seeds here and they sprout and grow. And there are people here to connect with, right? That you can grow together with, that you can foster relationships with over the years to really cultivate something incredible. Los Angeles has been such a generous city for me, and I think that if you can really lean into the resources that are available in this city, it can really, the sky's the limit here. It's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it really is. And in fact, we're going to be moving downtown even more sort of in the heart of Los Angeles to our own campus. So maybe we'll do some Jungalista work there. So lastly, there's a lot of kids in here and they're going to go have their journeys. And what would you say to younger Justina if she's sitting in the audience today? What would you tell that young woman how to, think about their future or their career, or not think about it and just explore and take time for that? What are some words of advice you can give our young students?
Yeah, follow your curiosities. I think following what you're curious about leads to really, really exciting places. I was just sharing with my team off stage that when I had a flashback last night when I was thinking about my day today, that when I was in high school, we had a speaker come just like this in the auditorium. She was a newscaster, and I leaned over to my best friend in the audience and I said, when I grow up, I'm going to be up on that stage just like her. And my girl was like, okay, Justina. But I think having clarity of vision, even if you don't know exactly what your career might look like, what your life might look like, just following your curiosity, following your heart, and then also just knowing your value, understanding your purpose, right? For me, I know that my purpose here is to share my creativity. And I can do that in so many different ways. I can do that by sitting up here on stage and talking to you all. I can do that through my design work. I'm a painter. I can do that through painting. We're on the move, but yeah, just to really listen to yourself, right? Listen to yourself, your curiosity, your passion, your heart, and see where it leads, and trust.
Thank you so much, Justina.
Thank you so much.
So, key takeaway, your superpower and curiosity. We're going to take that with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much, and thank you for singing. You guys sound so beautiful. It was lovely, it really warmed my heart, so thank you so much.